So these are our 5 steps on the web to go from really just finding out about you right down to consent to market to. And so the first step is discovery. So people finding you. This is where search engine optimization, tools like Google Places, being available and having well set up social media destinations. So if you have a Twitter account, is it set up well enough so someone can actually find out about you, consume information about you? And I'll give you a LinkedIn example here in a second. So consumption is the next one. And this is really where social media wins, is that today people don't want to have messages pushed at them. I might want to hit your blog and I might want to see a video, or I might want to read an article, or I might want to listen to a podcast, or I might want to hop off to Twitter and ask you questions, but I get to choose how I consume. So are you offering multiple options for consumption? Then there's interaction. So that's where the rapport begins. That's where the conversation begins. Remember, I haven't said marketing or blasting messages yet, or getting a subscriber and pushing our 5-step email blast at them. It's interaction. It's actually conversation. Then there's connection. Once we interact, often people will, a good example, very simple example, last night on our Facebook page for this book, we've been posting content of what we've been up to, with pictures of events. There's photos here. I snuck a candid of the chapters, people, when they weren't looking. You're up on the Facebook page. And talked about where we're at. And last night, a guy from Manitoba came on and said, boy, I'd really like to, after, asked a few questions and then said, when are you coming to Manitoba? So again, that's interaction. Well, I'll be there on the 10th. Well, great. Is there any chance that we can connect? And absolutely. And then I send him an invitation to connect on Facebook. Connect, not market, connect. I'll let you know when I'm coming. And he said, absolutely, please let me know. Consent, right? And so we go through these steps. And so once we have that consent, realize that consent and permission is the most valuable thing that we can ever get from somebody, and to absolutely honor it. And how we can honor it is by being absolutely relevant and customized in all our conversations towards our customers. So discovery. So here's all the areas people can discover us. Meetup.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Dig, WordPress on our blog, Twitter, Google Buzz, and we can go on and list them over and over again. The key is there's probably at least 5 major destinations in your community you need to be on based upon your demographic. And so if we're not there and our competitors are, we're no longer relevant, I believe. We really aren't. Because what we're doing is, I believe social media is more like a telephone than a billboard. It's a channel of communication. If my customer wants to talk to their friends on Twitter or Facebook, but I don't have that channel open for them to ask me a question, then I'm making myself irrelevant compared to my competitors who have that channel open. So make sure that you're on the core destinations. Not every single one, but what are the top 4 or 5 that you need to be on? Who's got a Google Places listing for their business? Okay, so everybody write this down. Go home, claim my listing. So if you've got a business and you're listed, you're on there, but you're unclaimed. So google.com/places and claim your listing. What happens is, if I go on my iPhone and search for realtor in this community, what comes up first on the mobile search is not the search engine results, but the Google Places results. So remember that this year, the handheld device bypassed the desktop computer as the #1 access point for the web on the planet, okay? So when we look at that, that means that many of our customers are looking for us through this tool, and if they're using Google search and you're not on Google Places, you're in trouble. So, and spend time to add pictures, add video, add descriptions. Make sure that, again, consumption, I can go in and learn everything about you. It's not just an address. Maximize consumption. This is Vanita Peak, and Vanita is the Vice President of Programs and Marketing for the Certified Management Accountants in British Columbia. And they've got, I think they've got something like 5,000 members in BC, accountants. And Vanita and I sat down the other day and we amped up her LinkedIn profile. So if your LinkedIn profile resembles an online resume, you're not there yet. There's many ways you can amp it up. So yeah, you're going to have your work history in there. You're going to have some references. But here's a few things you can do it. So if I go to your LinkedIn profile, it's actually not a landing page. It's an engaging page. It's an engagement page. It's a way where I can watch video. I can read your blog. I can see what you've been tweeting. I can read references. You can embed a recent article you wrote in PDF format. All of that is possible through what they call LinkedIn apps. Okay, so LinkedIn apps. And you can't see it here, but there's a More button on the middle of the navigation bar. If you click on that, it'll give you access to apps. And here's what we did. And I got to start rolling quickly here. But number one, we added video. So through Google Docs, adding a Google presentation, you can embed a YouTube video, and now someone can go on and watch a video about her business right through her LinkedIn profile. We then, of course, had a selection of books she's read. And of course, I put the profile together, so one of them is mine. But you can put any books you've been writing so people understand a little bit about yourself. Then, using the WordPress plugin, we pulled in all of her recent blog entries so people can read more about her business right off her LinkedIn profile. And then using slideshare.net, we embedded via PDF format. It could be an ebook. It could be a white paper you've written about your neighborhood. It could be your latest industry stats, community information. Or it could be, you know what, a list of upcoming events in your community, but something people might want to download and consume. And then, of course, Vanita has taken the time to go out and write references for people she's done business with, and many of them reciprocated and helped fill up her profile. So instead of just having an online resume, you now have an engagement page. And that's an example of maximizing consumption. So every destination people hit that you're on, are you maximizing your message and giving them multiple ways to learn about you? So as a guerrilla, you're no longer just using it as a spot where they can read something, but a place you can engage them in multiple ways. So consumption, consistent, relevant content and conversations. And it's all about nanocasting. The term nanocasting was coined, again, about 25 some odd years ago, when Jay was really referring to a concept that was a theory, because there weren't a lot of nanocasting tools back then. But let's talk about what it is, simply. In the past, we could broadcast. So if I wanted to get top of mind in North America or in my target market, I would just buy really expensive spots on I Love Lucy, and I would own the customer. That's all I had to do. Right? It doesn't work anymore with the 500-channel universe. And then if we get into YouTube, it's now the billion-channel universe. So then we moved into narrowcasting. We said, you know, I can't just advertise on I Love Lucy now. I'm trying to hit the men's demographic, so you know what? I think I will now advertise on TSN. But then that's not enough either. It's too broad, the demographics too skewed. So you know what? Let's drill down, and I'm trying to hit men between 45 to 55, because I want to promote my Viagra product on the, or whatever it is on the TV show. So let's pick the fishing show on Sunday morning, right? Let's do that. And so that's called niche casting, where we really, now the reality is today, not everybody watching that fishing show in the 35 to 45 market is a customer. And so it's still wasted marketing dollars. And I was reading an interesting book by a guy named M.J. Durkin, and he sent it to me via mail the other day, and he's actually a network marketing guy. He writes books on network marketing. But an interesting line of the book, and what he said is this: if you're talking to too many unqualified prospects, it's not a sales problem, it's a marketing problem. It's a marketing problem. It's a lead generation problem. And so nanocasting, and I think the best way to describe nanocasting is to really share a story with you about a guy named George Moen from Blends Coffee. And here's what Blends did. Is George actually came, there's Steve and Jagger on the left. Anybody know Steve? Anybody met Steve? A few of you have. That's my co-author from Sociable and the founder of ubertour.com. And so, co-founder. And so George is the CEO of Blends Coffee, and he says, okay, well look, even with social media being a guerrilla tool, he says, I can't out-tweet Starbucks. He says, they've got a team of 24-hour Twitterers. Like they've got shifts, and they've got people monitoring the brand, he says, and they've got a blog outreach team, and they've got a huge PR budget for online, and he says, I cannot out-yell them on the web. He said, so what do we do? And I said, well, then you're going to beat them block by block. And he developed a hyper-local strategy. So his main weapon was Google Alerts and search.twitter.com. And so what he did through search.twitter.com is he searched within a kilometer or two, depending on the business, on the location, of each of his coffee shops. And these coffee shops in Vancouver, there's more Blends than there are Starbucks in downtown Vancouver. So there's like over 80 of them. And so what they did is he searched for words like coffee, or people talking about Starbucks, or his brand. I hate Starbucks, I love Starbucks, I hate Blends, I'm at Blends. And then he went deeper and he searched for things like meeting and the word Blends, finding people who are having a meeting at Blends, or meeting in Starbucks, or people talking about latte. And then what he did is he started creating Twitter lists. And what those enable you to do is just to monitor people, specific people versus the whole world. And he created a list of people who just went for meetings in coffee shops in that area. Then he created a list of parents who went there. Then he created a list of people who loved lattes. Then he created a list of health buffs who just went there to buy their energy drinks. And then what he did is he reached out, and he didn't then begin blasting marketing messages at them. He started asking them questions that were relevant to things they were interested in. and started creating that conversation and that dialogue and offering advice and interacting. And then by doing that, he started developing a high level, him and his team started developing a high level intimacy of the people around each of these locations. Then he looked at, now it's different now, Starbucks is now giving free Wi-Fi, easy to access. But anybody try to access Starbucks Wi-Fi, let's say 90 days ago? Right, you need your membership card, you need to put it in, and then it would just die after an hour. And if you're in the middle of a blog entry, too bad. And that was what it was like. So what George did is he said, let's give free Wi-Fi, but let's amp up the Wi-Fi signal so that you can get it even well outside our store. And then he created a community portal where he had people in the immediate community blog on that site. So versus Blend's staff, it was people in the community. So when that page, when you loaded up your free Wi-Fi, out comes the Blend portal with stuff from people in your community, interesting content, and on the side there happens to be follow Blends on Twitter, join our Facebook page, and here's our latest special for Christmas, for gift cards. Then he did another thing. He found influential bloggers in each area and invited them out, either the store manager or him, and invited them in for coffee. Just to chat. That was it. Say hello. What occurred through these three activities is when the Olympics hit Vancouver, and he had all these nano markets developed and engaged, and they started communicating with people who were checking into the Blends, and international folk would come in and say, hey, free Wi-Fi, and check out this blog entry, and here's what's going on. And it started a whole stir, and what occurred is an independent media monitoring agency, a global one, named Blends as one of the top 5 ambush marketing brands of the Olympics, all through their nano marketing and direct connection strategies. Their cost literally for the blog was about $1,000. And the rest of them were really free tools, but of course, time is not free, time is life. So they invested it effectively in their nano markets. So that's an example of nano marketing. And I think in our own communities as realtors, there's multiple nano markets, whether it's through Twitter, whether we find them through Google Alerts, or we meet them in person. And really the key to relevancy in our communications, so we're not marketing at people, is to really, really segment our list and develop online content that communicates directly and specifically to those groups of people. Scott Heiferman is the founder of meetup.com. Anybody ever been to a meetup? That's a rhetorical question. This is a meetup group, right? This is grown over a meetup group. But Meetup is growing by 500,000 people a month. There's 18,000 organizers globally, and it covers everything. The most popular events are, of course, parenting meetups. But second to that are entrepreneurship-focused type events. But here's a quote from Scott I like. And he was actually invited into the White House to talk to Obama and his team about how the web can help communities self-organize. And here's what he said. The most exciting thing in the future is not TV on your phone. It's billions of people using their phones to be powerful together. And that powerful together part is really vital. Is that there are multiple thought leaders and guerrillas out in our communities, and versus us worrying about having 3,000 or 5,000 Twitter followers, is can I connect with 10 people who are connected to my nano markets, who have 500 each, and engage them. And that's really the key to online marketing from a social media perspective, social media is not scalable if we just keep ramping up our numbers. It's only scalable if we ramp up our influence through influencers. So nanocasting, here's some quick tools for you.